Hello and welcome to Custom Gamer. My name is Daz and this is the show where we talk about level design while playing cool maps. This is part 9 of Defendville. We're nearly there. This is Outpost 905 by Gimba. This is another one of my personal favourites from this particular mod. It's got a lot of very nice design touches to it that we can look at as we get through it. So as you can see here, you start off on this little bunk room. And it's nice that if you look out the window you can see the defense target straight away, so it's presented very well to the player. It kind of takes up your entire view as you come out here. You have no option but to walk past it, and it's kind of the centerpiece in the room. So it really sets itself up as being a very important object. And this is one of the few maps that actually gave you a defense target, so it's really nice to actually have something to defend. You even get the little objective display in the bottom corner there, telling you to defend the rocket. And this will change as it takes damage to give you an idea of how well you're doing. This map also looks really nice, just from a visual perspective. There's a nice use of distance fog here, it blends really nicely with the skybox. There's some great lighting, and the outdoor area just looks very impressive. Surrounding geometry really sells the effect of this being like a hilly area with this little recess in it. So as is typical with most defense maps, got plenty of turrets to set up. And the way this area is laid out at the front here, it's very much a kind of tower defense style. We talked about this a little bit in Anikator's map. That's what it felt like he was trying to get at. This map really does it quite well. It's loose enough that it's open for interpretation, so you can kind of set up defences basically wherever you want. There's not any rigidly defined lanes that Combine will attack from, but you can kind of generally guess where they're coming when the ambush starts. You have a lot of variety of ways you can actually set up defences in this map. Another interesting addition here is the antlions. I wasn't too fond of at first because they generally tend to get in the way more than they help. Their interaction with the mines here is a little bit buggy as well. I'm guessing that you can't actually set the mines to be friendly to the antlions. At least that's what it feels like here, because the antlions will detonate your own mines if they get too close. Luckily for the most part they try really hard to avoid them, but it's not 100% foolproof, as you'll see in this video. Another thing that's done really well, although it's not quite as good as Miga's map, the intro and setup phase here is handled quite nicely. In that you can explore around the kind of tower defense area here, find some extra turrets to deploy, find some extra weapons to pick up. It does feel very exploratory, which I like a lot. You're not just kind of sitting around with a huge cache of items and weapons in front of you for you to set up. The map still does suffer from a problem of having just repetition in the early stages here, like setting up so many mines and turrets can get a little bit dull. But it's not as bad as some of the other maps in the pack. And the fact that you have to go out exploring to find all the stuff to set up really helps break up the monotony of placing everything. But the mines here really do feel optional as well. You can kind of get by without them, if you just make good use of the mounted gun up the top there. Speaking of the mounted gun, it's another interesting mechanic in this map, in that if you choose, you can stand up on the second level and use the mounted gun to kill off all the Combine as they approach. It's very effective at doing so, but you're not pigeonholed into that role. If you don't like being a turret and kind of just sitting around shooting Combine soldiers without moving, then you don't have to do that. At least until the helicopter arrives, and then, you know, you really do need to use the machine gun against that. But I like the fact there's a lot of choice in how you actually want to defend this. It's perfectly viable to just kind of run around in the open here and kill Combine soldiers. It's a lot more difficult, but it can be done. The author doesn't script it specifically to draw you into one particular role, which is great design, if you ask me. You always want to try and support as many different playstyles as possible, especially when you've got a defense environment like this. So here's where the mines can get a little bit dodgy. Generally, if you place a mine away from an antline, they won't go near it, but if you place one down right next to an antline before it has a chance to move, you're gonna have a bad time. You've got some doors here that you can shut. These doors feel a little bit strange in that they seem to just open again by themselves later on. Not quite sure what causes it. Perhaps the Combine used the button on the outside and opened them. Not exactly sure. But yeah, once they're open, they're really, really hard to close again, at least in my experience. It's a little bit strange. So we've got a little bit more storytelling there. So we had the helicopter fly over earlier, and then we had the Combine scanner come in just now, so the Combine definitely know that we're here now. Which I like a lot. It adds a little bit of foreboding to the situation, like you know they're on their way. I also really like the fact that you do see the helicopter earlier. Again, it's another bit of foreshadowing, as you do have to fight it later on. Just set up the last few mines here. Nice little touch that I really enjoy about this outside area here is that because it's used displacements for the ground surface here, there's actually a lot of height variation, which creates these little mounds, which of course all the cars are piled on top of. And it's just a really simple way of getting an area to feel a little bit more interesting rather than just having a flat piece of ground. You have these little ridges, and you can hide behind some of them by crouching, which again reinforces the run and gun playstyle if you like to play that way. Here's the mounted gun up here. Again, I think this is like the preferred way to do this map. I think the author had the mounted gun in mind, but it's really nice that other playstyles are still viable. But you have a lot of cover up here from Combine soldiers. If you've set up all the rest of your defences downstairs, you can set up a very nice defence here. You can see here the antlines get a little bit stuck because they're trying to avoid the mines, but still get to where the bug bait has landed. It can cause some problems. And now the ambush begins. So I like the fact that the mounted gun isn't very effective at range. The way it's set up, the bullet spread can really put a downer on taking out enemies at long range, which is actually kind of nice. It's not ineffective, you can still take out enemies this way, but generally it works better to let them get a little bit closer. Now you can see the Combine start rolling in. Now it starts off very, very easy at first to get a couple of Combine coming in at a distance. You can just take them out with your machine gun. Then they start coming in greater numbers. It's actually paced out very, very nicely. Generally you can take out most of them before they get inside, but I like the fact that if they do get inside you have to move to deal with the problem. You can't just kind of turn around and shoot them from up here. You actually have to go and explore the level a little bit and take them out. There's no direct line of sight from up here, which is nice. I think the level would be way too easy if you could just turn around and shoot them through a window up there or something. So you can see here these doors have opened. Again, it may be the Combine that's opening them, I'm not sure. But you hit the button and they don't tend to close again. I don't know what's going on there. You see the rocket's taking a little bit of damage. Generally these first few waves are really easy to take out because you've got all your turrets up. You've got antlines flying around everywhere. It's actually fairly easy at the start. If anything, I'd say the map in general is perhaps a little bit too easy. The Combine really don't stand a chance if you set up your turrets in a decent position. The only real part of the map that gets tricky is when the Combine repel in from the actually inside the warehouse a bit later on. This is something I talked about in a few other maps where it's kind of nice to mix up the situation after a couple of waves, and that's what this map does. but there's not really much anticipation for it. You suddenly start seeing your rocket start taking a ton of damage, and you have no idea where it's coming from unless you're inside here when they rappel down. I think I would have really liked some more effects to tell the player what was happening. When the Combine rappel in here, perhaps some really heavy glass breaking sound effects could have really worked to really grab the player's attention. Now the helicopter comes back on the final wave. I love the way you see the hunters jumping down in the distance there. That looks really, really great. There's some really nice professional touches to this map which I really enjoyed. I think even this wave with the hunters is perhaps a little bit easy though. I think perhaps another wave of Combine along with these hunters would have worked really well. You can take out these guys pretty quickly. There's only two of them and they have no support, so they tend to die pretty quickly. Now we just have to take out the helicopter. And there's no, unless I've missed it and all the different attempts I've had on this map, but I don't think there's any rocket launcher or anything like that that you can use. So I think you're definitely pigeonholed into the turret segment here. It's not so bad. You've got plenty of cover to duck down and avoid the gunship's attacks. If anything, I'd say that the antlines perhaps get in the way a little bit here. You don't have time to tell them to move with the bug bait, but actually like moving around the gun can be a little bit difficult because they just kind of stand there right next to you. So eventually your in-place weapon is destroyed by rockets, which is a really nice touch. Perhaps would have liked the actual gun model to be removed and perhaps a little explosion or, you know, sparks coming off it or something like that. There's a little bit of steam coming off it, but I really didn't notice it the first time. My gun just kind of stopped working. I had no idea why. I thought the level had broken somehow. You're forced to finish him off with the gravity gun, which I really like. There we go. But it's a really fun map. I really like it. It's got some great touches to it. I really enjoyed the fact that there's lots of different ways to play it. And it looks fantastic as well, which always helps.
Dr. Freeman, we heard gunshots, so we came over here as fast as we could. Fortunately, it seems like you're okay. So's the rocket. Nice work.
Alright, so we've got one more Defendville map to go, and then we're all finished. This has been a really long set of videos, we should have got it done sooner, but it's a lot of work. So, in other news, tonight, this is the 6th of January, I'll be streaming Left 4 Dead 2 with viewers on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TDDaz. That'll be at 7 PM UK time tonight. Come along and watch, or even come along and play if you like. I'll be playing multiple games with everyone. Probably playing some custom maps as well, so come and check it out. I'll see you next time.